Hi, I had a few minutes, so I thought I would just pop in live while I can. So I didn't obviously announce it or anything, but there's a lot going on. I know people are feeling the intensity of what's happening, and I'm calling this um, we're in the upper room because that's what I have been feeling for I don't know several days now. Almost like we've been lifted out of uh, uh, the lower realms, so to speak, and we are in this, we're accessing a level of realms, fields. Even the word dimensions doesn't completely feel right, so I don't want to use dimensions, but in a sense, that's what it is. But this is different, and we're in a different room, or a consciousness can access these different quote rooms. And upper room, it's I think a term used mainly in the Christian religion. I don't know if it's used in other world religions, but the upper room implying like heaven. It's just my basic understanding of it. So we're in the upper room. We moved up levels in a sense, vibrationally, consciously, all of it. So the way I was seeing it was, if you imagine like a mall, and in the center of this mall are escalators that go up to these different levels. And so at first I was feeling like there was 3 levels, and then it moved to the top third level, and now it feels like there's a fourth level, and we're accessing up to the fourth level, so to speak. And some might say, well, it's that harmonic universes, universe 1, 2, and 3, and 2, 3, and 4, and that doesn't even quite feel like that. It feels like we're on a completely different platform. So in the vision that I had at these escalators in the center of a mall, and behind me, it's not that one actually, but there's a big uh, picture of an emerald sun that's kind of radiating out. And so it's completely open in the center with the escalators. You can see down. Uh, so this emerald sun kind of emanating at all levels and kind of drawing people to go up, in a sense. So in that center is escalators. You could see down, all the way down. So there's a first level, or might say basement level, that we have transcended from. There are still kind of people walking around at that lowest level, um, but people have moved up to different levels, so to speak, and I feel like I should not call it dimensions or those kinds of things. It's because again, it just feels different. So the second, third, and the second, third, and fourth levels would be kind of like a new field that we're interacting with. So some people are just kind of coming up to that second level now. That might be kind of awakening, so to speak. And then there are some who are, kind of go back and forth from that second and third level. And then there might be other people going kind of at that fourth level, and they can see everything, that's going on down. So we've transcended to another different platform is the only way to say it. So the base foundation of our reality is going to change because of this base foundation that has changed. So this affects how we connect to the macrocosm, and it affects how we connect to the microcosm down to subatomic levels. So, with that, then the foundational matter of our bodies, there's a foundation of how molecules and atoms came together, and how electrons, and protons and neutrons were all, let's say, in their own probability fields, so to speak, because they're not really, quote, solid. Um, and so they exist in this field now, and how they relate to each other, how they interact with each other, um, has changed. So uh, so now then, our states of matter also has to adjust and adapt, and that's what it feels like is happening. So it's even at levels of states of our consciousness, and everything that we have believed, is going to kind of come into question, or just a different perspective, let's say. So one of the things I've been talking a lot about in our Patreon groups and meetings is that we're accessing to the point of origin before any distortions ever existed. And so it means even before any fallen consciousness existed, those kinds of things. So we're that point of origin of this universe happened many, many hundreds of billions of years ago, so to speak, and now everything is opened up, so we're accessing this, and with that, then there are these new suns. It's emerald sun, ruby sun. People might say, well, is it a new sun, or is it the same old sun that we didn't access before? And to me, I feel like they're they're kind of new from a perspective, because this is before any fallen consciousness existed. So if you were looking at that Ouroboros, the snake kind of coming around, then it's like, from the tail going down may have been one path where distortion was created, and then going back the other way, now we're kind of on that, where everything is being healed, so to speak, meaning even distortions are being healed. So we're going back to that point, and these suns are radiating from that perspective, almost like it's a guide post, for us to follow, to kind of to lead us, to guide us about where we're going. And simultaneously, though, then it's highlighting, because of that purity, it's highlighting where the impurities are, and it's going to amplify that, because everything, there's this desire from creation to heal all of it, everything. Um, and so it's like that desire that's coming through, the desire to be whole and one, um, again. And part of that means drawing everything back to that point to then be healed, which means wholeness. It's and oneness in its purest form. And so the other thing that I've been kind of working with lately is the birthing of even sounds of these whales. So an orca whale and a humpback whale, and now since yesterday, what I've been getting is dolphin sounds of dolphins, um, that are imprinted with that are sounds of the ruby sun. And you'll hear Sammy, kind of, she's in the bathtub, so she's okay at the moment. But yeah, even just what I'm talking about here, the energy of that, and how possibly disruptive it can be. So one thing that I've been, talking about with my friend Terry is this desire of creation. Um, that creation happens, you know, other people have talked about this, we've been talking about it, thinking about it for the last couple of years, or a few years, about innocence and playfulness, that creation happens in kind of that state, in this awe and this wonder of being and existence. And in this sense, creation, and I don't want to call it God or anything, but there's more of this kind of neutral term, just calling it creation, the all that is. Uh, it has a desire to flourish, to continue to create, and then everything blossoms and blooms and flourishes, and our creations are like the fruit of that desire. And we hear that kind of language, and we think about Jesus or Yeshua and how he taught. So, in that sense, then distortion and miscreations are actions, and creating that actually interferes with that desire and actually causes, instead of causing things to flourish and continually, perpetually creating more abundance as we create, that it creates death, it creates blocks. So this would be like anti-life forces that then you are no longer able to bear fruit by engaging in that kind of creation, is the idea. So so with these orca whales, this orca whale uh, that I drew, this, and this was from, according to what I got, was 750 million years ago, when the whale sounds, when these particular whale sounds were, quote, created. So it's like the sound body of the whale, because really the sound comes first before our body. Uh, that's how we create. It comes from sound first. The sound body comes first, or from dark matter. Something that we've been kind of learning the last couple of years. So um, this orca sounds are about harmonizing, being in harmony, and then the humpback whales came after that, and their sounds are about peace, the sounds of peace, so to speak. And uh, so the dolphin sounds have to do with, again, this ruby sun DNA, which is, so it's imprinted, and it's supposed to be imprinted into us, that we are would have this inner knowing and this desire to create in this playfulness, in this way of knowing that we want to create so that everything continues to flourish and blossom and bloom, and so that it bears fruit, and that fruit will bear more fruit, as it's passed on. So this is, some exciting things happening to stimulate the change of consciousness. So there's someone, I see someone named Stephen. You're asking about what am I talking about? Well, I'd say I'm talking about the change in consciousness on the planet that's happening and how we're transcending an old 3D, third dimensional paradigm, which is left brained and um, left-brained and linear thinking. So if you go back to the beginning, I talk a little bit about that in term with the analogy of upper room, that kind of thing. So if you wouldn't mind going back to the beginning, in a sense, and if you're catching my talk for the first time, then it may not make sense to you. But this is what I work with, in a sense, as a mom to an adult child who is considered nonverbal autistic, but severely autistic, and she has a spiritual awareness, like many of them, I think, that's that the typical third dimensional human hasn't been aware of, in a sense. And so it's like asking, well, how do we get out of a third dimensional linear consciousness, which has been kind of been a box in a sense, and how do we transcend that and get out of that? And it's by changing our awareness of who we are, and really as a soul, if you believe you have a soul. I hear that some people don't believe we have souls, but and what it means to be a spirit in a form. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. If you're still watching, but yeah, there's a innate desire of creation to keep creating, and there's an innate desire that everything flourishes in the process. So, one of the topics that came up with my friend Terry, uh, who has a degree in chemistry, is we were talking about toxins as well, and how there are molecules even that come together, um, right? These toxic chemicals that are produced and then put out into the world. That she was saying that it actually takes a lot of energy, and um, atoms and molecules that wouldn't naturally want to come together, that they have to manipulate the environment with heat and cold and all kinds of other things, and other I think ions, those are like either negatively or positively charged on the ends, right? So that they bind these other molecules together that wouldn't otherwise um, want to be, let's say, quote, working together. Then that creates a toxin, because, right, toxins, as we would categorize them, is anti-life. It's what kills life, and so there's this sense of even atoms and elements uh, that almost like, because in even this consciousness of creation before distortions, that's um, emanating to us now, uh, it's even transmitting this innate desire to the at the very subatomic levels. Because if we say that the all that is quote God or creator, whatever you want to call it, source, the ultimate all that is, if all energy and consciousness is created out of that source, then it would have this innate desire in knowing that, um, you know, like I don't want to do that. Like that's not, like it was talking about the molecules that we manipulate to come together that otherwise wouldn't naturally gravitate towards each other to create these toxins and things. So there's this sense of, even at atomic levels, subatomic levels, that this would, that it would dissolve these these toxins more readily. Even things like, you know, manipulated DNA. What's possible. So, I don't know if it means that immediately all of the toxins in our world are going to become fragmented or dissolve, into their individual true nature, let's say. But it could happen that the toxicity on our planet um, can be cleaned up much faster. And I think other people have talked about that, and I know I've talked about that in the past, but that it felt like it was going to dissolve, or somehow be corrected much more readily than we can imagine, right? Our water's being cleaned up and toxic waste being cleaned up more rapidly, um, than we can imagine. So Sammy likes that. She's happy about that. So there, these, and today I was put a post on Facebook that I was getting from Sam, is that our platonic solids are even going through changes, or those are the base templates of matter, our bodies, our things, in our world. It's been based on what they called, um, yeah, and so somebody's saying primal cry, realities that normally wouldn't go together are being merged as well. New playing field, one we have yet to experience. Yeah, exactly. But maybe these realities were supposed to kind of be more together, you know, because what I've noticed too of what we would call of parallel timelines, either vertically, I mean horizontally or vertically, that we were kind of separated, and aspects of ourself, other aspects of ourself, let's say, in those um, parallels, that it was like, oh, it's a lot easier to collapse these timelines, these parallels, um, that really should be, coming together. So yeah, there's a lot um, happening. It's like an open playing field, you know, and the open playing field is based on this like innate desire of creator to keep flourishing. Like I was saying, it wants to keep flourishing. It wants to keep flowering and experiencing, and and in that process, that everybody else flourishes too. Everybody else, is abundant. It's going to get harder and harder to hoard anything, or for the rich to get richer, so to speak. These kinds of concepts are going to be erased. No, thank you. I'm glad you were able to join in, because I know I didn't announce it. I just took a few minutes, like looking at my, like, okay, Sam's in the tub. She's quiet. My son, Chris, is in the backyard. I can, kind of see him, and he's listening to his music on his iPad. So I was like, okay, well, this is my moment. I feel like, so I'm gonna pop in, and see what I can deliver in this short amount of time here. So I've talked about 25 minutes already, but yeah. So platonic solids changing. Sammy was saying that it's our Euclidean geometry is going to change. That also has to do with the math. Um, and the magnetics on the planet are changing. The sun's magnetic is changing. So there's it's been nonstop as far as changes happening, and they're happening rapidly. It's difficult to even wrap your mind around it. There's just several blogs that I could have written. Like I said, I'm just busy drawing lately. I've got about 5 or 6 drawings going at the same time. I do a little bit and then come back to it. But some really powerful, powerful things happening. 9 micron suns. That's the way the language came out, micron, which I think from biology, micron is a scale, what they use microscopically to measure, I think, like things like bacteria and things. So why that word? But micron suns and 9 central heavens, not 7 higher heavens anymore, but 9 central heavens. And I still have yet to unpack what that means exactly. I just kind of get a sense of it. But, our personal light body and tree of life that births life into us, it's changing, it's growing, it's expanding. I think to meet these 9 central heavens, so to speak. So there are changes. I even want to say to the architecture of the universe. You kind of go back and forth. Well, it can't change. Some people don't think stargates change. But there's a part of me that comes back to, but it has to change because creation is always, it wants to evolve. It wants to create something new. There's a desire to, and when then at our level of consciousness, if we say that we're the densest, at the densest level, and we're an expression of source, then what happens to us, we're this mirror, reflecting back to source, reflecting to us, then then there's this cycle that's happening. And so we're exchanging information all the time, and it's stimulating these other changes going on in the universe, in the architecture. It's like, well, how could it not, So Stargate's changing, I think so. And even a different sun disk network, felt like we were tilted, 30 degrees the wrong way, so to speak. And now we're kind of adjusting to the way we're supposed to be connected. Boy, that I felt a shift in that. Um, so there's many layers and levels that this is all simultaneously happening now. And one of the interesting and exciting ways to look at this endpoint, of healing all distortions and all, fallen consciousness, is that it's already been done in simultaneous time. It's already been done. It's done, and we're living the past, and we're ascending physically to match that point. So alchemically, everything here has to change. Our bodies have to change. So the math has to change. The the base level of geometries has to change because those are the sounds. That's the light. That's the alchemical codes. It's all of these things, and so it's a lot of adjusting that we're having to do on a constant constant basis. So, you know, some people are saying, oh, it's by the end of, you know, towards the second half of June, it should lighten up. It's going to get easier. Well, it's like, no, not really. It hasn't really lightened up. Things are kind of more accelerated. July is supposed to be an important marker for the ascension. Um, so, and I think all of this has contributes to all of what I was just talking about and more. I mean, it's just so much to unpack and explore that I can't even, you know, I can't even explain it all in this one sitting here. But I know it'd be exciting to get a bunch of people together and just start talking about what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, and you know, putting dots together. You know, I have a couple of friends that I do that with, kind of individually, you know, and we go all over the place and we sort of unpack things. But I know you think about all these a lot of great ideas of getting more of us together and stuff. It's just kind of coordinating with our my home life and then everybody else. But maybe if I put the intention out for July sometime to be able to do that, that would be kind of fun. Anyway, but yeah, I can tell Sammy is ready for me to finish with her bathing so that she can get moving. But thank you for joining in and listening to those who popped in. Um, and again, I apologize if I wasn't able to give any notice. I just have to take a moment when I have it. Otherwise, then it slips by me. But yeah, thank you for listening and blessings to all of you. Thank you. So how do I end this? Let's see.